You're not selling land fast enough because you're not marketing it well. In this video, I'm going to be going over how I market my land, how I market it efficiently, and how you should be doing it yourself. And the great thing about this is I sell land. So I've specifically tailored the marketing for land, but you can apply a lot of these strategies to any type of real estate or really any business. So there's a bonus. If you learn it this way, it applies to the future if you're doing other types of businesses. So let's talk about how you're currently selling your land or real estate, whatever it is that you're doing. You probably buy your land, your real estate, and you list it on the MLS. You have one place that you list land, and that's the only type of marketing that you do. That's going to be the beginner when somebody is buying and selling land, flipping land, or doing any types of real estate, is just posting it on the MLS and praying that somebody comes and buys that property. That is a terrible way to market because one, that's what everybody else is doing. That's what every basic realtor, any person who's flipping houses, flipping land, they're just doing the same thing. So you're not standing out at all when you're doing it like that. So let's say you're going a little bit above and beyond. On top of the MLS, you're posting it in different groups or you're networking. Maybe you're even on Facebook, posting it on Facebook Marketplace. Doing that alone is really going to set you apart from a lot of other people that are buying and selling land or buying and selling real estate. Just going the extra step and posting that real estate in different places can really help with the sale. So if you're doing that, you're kind of at the next level when it comes to buying and selling stuff. But that's not enough. If you're somebody who's looking to buy real estate, what you really have to do is think about putting yourself into the shoes of that buyer. So when you go to buy a piece of land, let's say you don't have any education in real estate or vacant land, and you don't really know what you do to buy a piece of land. So most people are going to think they need a realtor, and that realtor is going to help them with purchasing that property. And if you know anything about real estate, you don't need a realtor. I am a realtor, but you don't need one. So you can buy land without having a realtor, and you don't need really anything. You could just go to the county and record that sale with that person. So really you don't need anybody besides the county to buy and sell real estate. However, you're probably going to use a title company to do that, or at least an attorney, but you don't need a realtor to buy and sell land. But going back into the shoes of that person who's buying a piece of land, they're going to think that they need a realtor to buy land. So the first thing that you have to do is help them to figure out how to buy land the most efficient way. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video, is how to efficiently sell land, to market to the most people, and to narrow it down to having the sale the most simplest way for somebody who wants to buy property. So let's talk a little bit about the overall process of buying and selling land and how I have it set up to be the most efficient for the buyer. Basically, it's a funnel. When you're looking at sales, that's how you want to have any type of sales, is you have your funnel. You have your marketing leads, your general marketing that you're just appealing to as the most people possible. And then it goes into the people that are interested or they've interacted with you in some regard. So maybe they fill out a form that you have, they've contacted you, they've expressed some interest in that property or in your business in some regard. So they're going down the funnel all the way to the point where they're looking at what you have available, and then they're going through the checkout process and closing out that funnel by buying your product. So that is the general way that you do marketing. And I apply that same thing to buying and selling vacant land. So at the top, I have all my different marketing sources, whether that's the MLS, Facebook, Zillow, Craigslist, email marketing, billboards, whatever it is that I have. I have 27 different ways that I market properties. So I have a great big net that goes out and tries to market to anybody that I can who's looking for these type of properties that I'm selling. So I have a big net that goes out and casts out there and tries to get as many leads as possible. But then what happens is that person interacts with my big net that I have casted, and they come in and they've expressed that they're interested in the property. So maybe that is on Facebook Marketplace. They replied to one of our listing ads and they ask a question about it or whatever it is. That means they're coming somewhat into the funnel because they've expressed some interest in the land that I have for sale. So that's going down the funnel. The next step is not to, have them go look at the property or have them do something else. You want to continue them on a path to purchasing your property. So what I do is I have my website set up. And on the website is where I have listings for all of the properties that I have for sale. And I've specifically created that website to, again, be like in a funnel shape. So it takes them through a process. And I can talk about that later. But basically, what I want to do is I want to have all my marketing direct to my website because on my website it's set up to, again, try to sell them on buying that property. So the funnel, it goes into some interaction, which then goes into the website, which then I make it as simple as possible and having a checkout button. So it's the same as Amazon. If you're trying to buy a book, if you're trying to buy, whatever it is, a light stand, a light bulb, I don't know, whatever you're trying to buy on Amazon, all you got to do is find the property or find the object and click checkout and buy it. And that's basically what I do for real estate and specifically vacant land. All somebody has to do is go to the listing for it and hit buy now. When they hit buy now, they're putting $50 down. So that's how I structure it, as a $50 deposit. Because with that $50, it weeds out who is actually interested in buying a property versus who is just, like a window shopper type person. So with that deposit, they put that down and that reserves the property for them. And then what happens is they're automatically emailed either depends on how we're doing it, a purchase agreement or a contract for deed, automatically emailed that to fill out with their information. And once that's filled out, it's sent back to us, and then we can go and record that document. So the entire process, just from top to bottom, is very simple. They're seeing that marketing, they're directed to the website, and then they're brought to checkout. So let's dive into the computer real quick, and I'll just show you this quick funnel and how you can break that down a little bit better. Okay, so here we are. We have our funnel that we're going to go through. And at the top level, we're going to have our marketing sources. So this is where we're going to be collecting all of our different leads, all the people that are interested. This is how people are going to see that we have a property for sale. So I have 27 different ways that I market properties for sale. I'm just going to show 3 right now, just for this example. So we have Facebook, the MLS, Craigslist, and then imagine you have a bunch of other sources that are going out here. This is your top of funnel. This is where everybody is going to see your properties. But from there, what's the next step? The first thing you're going to have is your first contact with them. So in this is where you're going to have people that are reaching out from you from Craigslist. Maybe they call you, they email you, on the MLS, they email you, they call you. Facebook, they send you a message on Facebook Messenger. From there, you have to have them go someplace because, right, they're interested. They want to know more about the property. You don't want to have to sit here and talk to every single lead that comes through and answer all their questions and not do all that. So what you want to do is you want to set up a website. And on this website, you're going to have all the information that is needed in that funnel. So the website of its own is going to be somewhat of a funnel where it's directing them through the entire process. So in this case, it's going to be on the website, you'll have where they go to. There'll be the listing that has, the title of the property, like what's it about, why is it a cool property. So for example, I might name something like half an acre on a lake in pristine wilderness, or I don't know, you'll have a title for that property, but then you have pictures of the property, you have quality pictures, so you have pictures from the ground, pictures from the air on a drone. And then as they go down, there's an actual description of the property that talks about utilities, the size, parcel ID, everything else that they need to know about this particular property. And then from there, it goes in and you have videos of the property so they can actually see what it's like on that property. You have quality videos of it. And then from there, you have information that talks about purchasing the property. So any questions, you have a link to an FAQ about what a property purchase looks like and the process. But then you also have the section for them to check out. So it has the price, it has financing options. So I like to have a chart that shows availability of different financing options that they can do. And then there's an actual button to check out on the website. And I like to have a $50 deposit because of that. You're going to get a lot of people that say they're interested in buying the property, but they waste your time. They say that they want it. You put together a contract and then they ghost you. So with that $50 deposit, how I have it set up is they put it in, it takes all the information, and then it sends them, once they've submitted that $50, it sends them the purchase agreement or contract for deed or whatever it is for them to look over and sign, filled out with their information. So the entire process goes from them seeing the listing here, and we're going to put this into the chart so you can see what it looks like. So we have from when they go to the website,
we have a follow-up email. So this person, they've gone to the website, they hit the checkout button, and that they said that they wanted it. They put the $50 down. This follow-up email contains the contract or purchase agreement, whatever it is. And then the last step is that's signed, and then they have to pay. So it's either you can have it where they can also pay with that follow up email. So you can have it set up where when they sign the contract, it sends them to the portal for either doing a wire or doing however you want to collect payment is something that you can automate into this setup. And then from here, the only real thing that you need to do is record the contract or purchase agreement or deed or whatever it is that this is going to be different depending on the area. So that might be something that you physically have to do is this step right here. But otherwise, this should be mostly automated where they're going through your marketing, they're going to your first contact, which is probably going to be somebody that you hire as like a VA. Or you can, again, automate this with Facebook with messages where somebody messages you and it says, hey, there's more information here on our website, which then directs them to the website. Same with the MLS. You might have they email you and it automatically directs them to the website, Craigslist, email, direct to the website. And within the website, you kind of have a contact form. I like having people contact me through the website because I know they're a little bit more qualified of a lead where, they've already gone through and they've seen I have everything they need to know about this property on my website. So if they have any questions, it's probably more of like a negotiating or something that's very niche topic that they have a question on. But if somebody's asking a question up here, they probably didn't read the listing. You probably have the size in there and they just didn't read it and they're going to waste your time by asking you about that. So by directing them all the way down to here, the questions and the people that you're talking to are a little bit more qualified. And then they have a clear process to get to the next step, which is actually purchasing the property. And there's a few other reasons why I like having the website is because it actually helps a little bit with the cross-selling. So if somebody comes to your website, let's say from here you had a listing, one of the properties was listed at 9,000 or something, like a really cheap, inexpensive property when it comes to land. And then they come to your website and they realize that this one's so cheap because maybe it's not zoned very well, or, it's just not a very good property overall. But then on your website, they see that you have another listing for one for, $19,000, and that property has everything that they're looking for. It's a great piece of land, and I know these prices sound really cheap, but that piece of land that I got for 9K listed, I probably bought it for like $500, and this one for 19K, I probably bought for like 3K. So there's a lot of markup potential when it comes to land, as a side note. But anyways, they're on the website and they came for this listing because it's cheap, but then you're able to upsell them to a property that's a little bit nicer, just because they're looking in that area already, they're interested in buying land, and that's something that they end up going with instead. And that brings me to the one little caveat that we have with our funnel. This is a nice funnel for the most part. Like, it looks like it starts off really wide, and then this would all go in. These would all be going in. They all direct to the website. These are your different sources of marketing. Then they go into your first contact, and they go to your website. The only thing that goes to the side here is maybe they come to the website and it's not everything that they were looking for at first, but they are still interested in buying real estate or land. You don't want to lose that lead forever. So you are going to collect you're going to collect their details when they come to your site. So how you're going to do that is they come to your website, and maybe when they fill out the contact form, they can opt in to be contacted again in the future, or you have some sort of like VIP buyers list where anybody can sign up on that website to become notified whenever you have a new listing available, or maybe discounts or promos or whatever it is. You get them to sign up for your email list, because here what happens is they signed up, maybe they didn't buy anything today, but now in the future, you can start emailing them in an email campaign or texting campaign whenever you have a new listing available, or when a property becomes available, or maybe you decrease a price, whatever it is. You can follow up with these people by email, and you're not losing that lead anymore because you've taken down their information and you can reconnect with them. And in that case, you can get them to come back again when they're going to go back to your website when you have something good, and go through that process again, looking at the property, purchasing the property, and then selling it. So this is kind of the whole structure of what it looks like when you're buying and selling or sorry, when you're selling that piece of land and what they're going to be going through when they're buying it.
Of course, there's a lot more to marketing land and marketing real estate for sale, but this is the general framework that you want to keep. And there's one thing that you should keep in mind is just making the entire process as easy for the customer as possible. Because if you're trying to sell a piece of land, if you make it easy for them, that shouldn't be the reason for neglecting a sale. Somebody shouldn't change their mind on buying a piece of land just because it's hard to do. It should be because they don't want the property. So making it as easy for somebody who wants the property to purchase it is going to help you with closing as many sales as possible. So like I said, there's a lot to go over. If you want to learn more, you can go to selltheearth.com. That's my website. Or feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. It's Hunter Pogo. And I hope to see you there.